out to Leszewski. Leszewski for three. Got it!
Money, huddle, gotta, cuddle, lot of orders, dollars, quarters.
Welcome back, Irish fans, to Breaking Down Braves Boys podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Rex Pflueger, my favorite Notre Dame player of all time, one of Jake's favorites. But yeah, one of the great guests we've had on, in addition to Ryan Humphrey, Matt Zona, all those guys. I'm with Jake also today. We're having some technical difficulties, but we should be able to get him. So let's get into the questions first. Let's address something that is pretty uncertain right now. Right before the season ended on the Jack Nolan Mike Bray show, you said you wanted to play professionally. Do you have any updates with that kind of stuff, or has Corona kind of messed all of that up?
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar spot as a lot of guys right now, trying to figure out our next steps going to the professional route. Currently, I'm pretty sure, just like everyone else, I'm just working out, keeping my body ready, staying ready for when opportunities are going to be able to present themselves. It's difficult, still being uncertain now, trying to figure out that path, but there are a lot of opportunities overseas. So just kind of trying to figure out what the best next move is for me in the beginning of my professional career. But as you can see, as everyone knows, if you're keeping up with the news, Corona is very prevalent right now. And we want everyone to be safe, but we also want to get back to playing basketball. So the sooner that gets set up, the more that everyone else in our rookie campaigns can start figuring out our next steps.
Do you have any overseas places you're looking at? Like, I know, don't you have a passport in a certain country, like I think Britain?
Yeah, I do have one of those passports from the UK. It is Great Britain, and which the uncertainty there now too for me is the whole Brexit and how that affects my EU citizenship over there, and what does that mean for the other teams over there. But it should give me some nice leadways into the Western European countries. Some of them, Spain, France, Germany, Italy, all those. And definitely, if I could play overseas and have the experience, not only for playing basketball, but to live in another country would be something that I'm very much into as well. As you know, basketball is a big part of my life, but I always love to enjoy different experiences, and traveling is something that I really enjoy doing.
Would you ever want to be a basketball coach after playing, maybe at Notre Dame?
I've been approached, by a lot of people saying that would be a great position for me. I love the game of basketball, so I never want to count it out. Going back to Notre Dame would always be a dream, just because I've given 5 years of my life to them, and I think they've given a lifetime back to me. So I'm definitely appreciative of everything Notre Dame's done for me. And, being the court leader, captain, I can see myself being in a position where I can become a very, very good head coach, honestly, just because I feel like I have a good understanding of the game. I'm a people's person where I can deal with any type of personality, and I feel that, it would honestly kind of be a dream if I could be able to go out there and not only coach basketball, but also mentor young men and help them in their development, not just as basketball players, but as human beings.
Mm-hmm. That would definitely be a good role for you. I was thinking about that during the season, especially your high basketball IQ and stuff like that. So another thing I have is I think a lot of people don't realize how injured you actually were. Seemed like in a lot of games you came up limping or grimacing in pain, and you just kept playing through it. How injured were you, and what would you put a percentage on it for most of the games?
Yeah, I would say, man, in the beginning, I had a lot of adrenaline just being out back on the court. And I really wanted to push myself for the season opener game against North Carolina, because I just wanted to be out there with everything that was going on in my life. Basketball was definitely this outlet. And I would say about a month into the season, I realized that my knee just wasn't right. So I got the MRI, and I actually ended up having 2 bone bruises in my knee. And I had the option to either sit out for a month and a half to 2 months in the season in the beginning, or I could just play through it. And in my mind, it was my last year. I came back for a reason, and there was no other option than to play. And if I were to give an honest percentage, I would probably say around 80 to 85% of my true capabilities, at least just because of movement and athleticism purposes.
Mm-hmm. That's a question I also had is, do you think you would have played, or you think you would have played the whole season like you did if you were like, say, a sophomore or junior?
Just knowing my position and everything, I probably would have still pushed through it. That's always been my mantra, is that if it just hurts and it's not an injury, play through it. If it came down to me being smart about my decision and understanding, having a future and, career and everything with basketball, I definitely should have taken time off. But that's just not how I'm wired. That's not how I was raised. And I don't regret anything of my decisions to keep playing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what were the first few days like things acting up? After the season, like, it was canceled, and what kind of stuff were you thinking?
First of all, when everything got canceled just because of the whole Corona issue, I think the number one priority was to make sure that we were doing the right thing and that we're taking all the necessary precautions, that, we weren't, putting anyone in danger when it came to the coronavirus. So I don't think anyone was too upset with the ending, just understanding that it's a national and international problem, that obviously we wanted to keep going. We had a good game against Boston College going into that Virginia game, which we were feeling confident. And I think we had, the mental fortitude to keep pushing and win the ACC tournament if we kept playing the way we did, like we did in that first game. So it definitely hurts, especially for the other seniors, John Mooney and TJ Gibbs. But, I think we have a very mature group of guys who've been through a lot together. So we were able to handle it like men. And definitely we got to give a lot of thanks to the coaching staff for, helping us keep our heads high and just staying confident on the whole thing, and knowing that life is a lot bigger than basketball, even though it's a big part of ours. And we just need to kind of take the punches as they're thrown and keep moving forward.
So you talked about a little bit the chemistry you guys had with Mooney and Gibbs and all that. If you had to make a pitch to a recruit about Notre Dame, what would you have to say?
I would say exactly what they said to me on my recruiting. You're coming to Notre Dame for everything that they have to offer, not just the basketball, but, the tradition, the people that come with the school, the amazing fan base it comes with. It's, to encapsulate Notre Dame is basically one of the highest honors, I think, in college, just because of the brand that we precede ourselves with, and that we uphold every single time that we talk to people, the way we hold ourselves on the court, and just the way that we interact with each other. And it really creates a family connection that goes a lot deeper than basketball, that makes it all worthwhile, no matter how the games turn out, because of the brand that we precede ourselves with, and that we uphold every single time that we talk to people, the way we hold ourselves on the court, and just the way that we interact with each other. And it really creates a family connection that goes a lot deeper than basketball, that makes it all worthwhile, no matter how the games turn out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so was it hard to decide to stay on for your fifth year, or was it like a no-brainer for you?
It was pretty much a no-brainer, especially after I had the conversation with Coach Bray about what to do. I was sitting in his office and we were talking, we were talking about everything that was going on with my knee, with my family, situation. And I remember saying, hey, Coach, I don't want to step on your toes at all for your recruiting process going to the next year, because I'm the type of person that thinks about others too. I don't want to be someone that imposes anything. And Coach Bray, being the great guy that he is, he just, completely came to my side and just said, you know what? We need you. We want you here. You're an integral part of the team. You're an integral part of the culture. And he wanted me to stay with them. And I wanted to stay with them as well, because they became my family, and they still are my family and forever going forward. And that's what really makes Notre Dame, and in specific the basketball team, so special.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. Especially after, I think, we got really tired last year with, we didn't have, the rotation was getting short. So even without you, it would have been, I don't even want to imagine. So it was like you were kind of glue holding that together a lot for us.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that would have been very bad if we had a 6-man rotation for most of the year if you weren't coming back.
Yeah, but the thing that I'm happy about is I was able to leave as much knowledge and wisdom as I can with our younger guys. Same with Moni and TJ. That I think the team's in very good hands this year. I think that a lot of players are going to step up in the leadership roles, and they're really going to hold themselves accountable. And I think that's just kind of been the leadership culture that our team has really, worked on throughout my year. One of the main reasons that I came to Notre Dame, because when you see people like Jaron Grant and Pat Connaughton out there and themselves holding themselves to such high standards along with the other guys and, never demeaning, always encouraging. And I saw that with Demetrius Jackson and Zach August my freshman year. And it's definitely a culture that is very rare in college basketball that you sometimes see every few years, maybe every 5 to 10 years. But with Notre Dame, there's always going to be that leadership role every single year, which is something I think the team can feel very comfortable about. And it gives like the fans basically a great idea that the team is playing not just to win games, but for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So this may tie into your previous answer, but why did you choose Notre Dame?
I think it's just everything that Notre Dame has to offer, everything from academics to athletics to the tradition of the school to the ability to network and just overall great people. You just feel at home when you go there, whether or not you're part of the Notre Dame school or whether you're affiliated in any way. I think it's a great brand that people can really, put themselves in and feel a part of because we're so welcoming to anybody that wants to join and, root for us because I think we're just one of those schools that, everyone sees Notre Dame and there's a certain aura to us, just like as when you step onto the campus, you kind of get this holy feeling when, you see the Golden Dome, when you see Touchdown Jesus and you see the football stadium. It almost seems like you're stepping into a little piece of heaven. And that's something I really enjoyed every single moment and something I miss greatly. I know I'll be back in the future.
That's definitely something I would say about,
you go ahead.
that's something I would say about Notre Dame for sure is they treat their fans well, like you said. Like I do autographs and stuff, as you know, and a bunch of teams that come through, a bunch of guys will deny me and stuff, but Notre Dame is the only team every guy would do it and stuff. But like you said, even if you're affiliated in any sort of way, they treat you like family.
Exactly. And I think that's something that we hold our heads high on, just the fact that whether it's in a win or in a loss, that you always got to be the same type of person, which is a good person, and that you should never treat others differently.
So I had one more regular question before we get to the speed round. This one's not about you, but what can you tell us about Cormac Ryan? You probably know a lot about him compared to everybody else because you practice with him every day and stuff. What can you tell us about his game and him as a person?
Man, I'm excited. I was at his little official visit when he came over when he's thinking about transferring and, just seeing the type of person and type of family he comes from, he's just a perfect Notre Dame man. And he's just guys that, you just want to keep around you because, he's fun loving, but he's also one of the hardest workers on the team always. And he's got a great skill set, man. I could see great things for him in this future. And I actually look forward to him being one of the vocal leaders on the team this year, even though it's going to be his first year playing. So I know I'm going to hold my standards high for CMAC to come out there and do some damage.
Mm-hmm. I did see. Are you pretty good friends with him? Because it seems like every time you get an N1 or whatever, you go over to him and you do a handshake or whatever.
That's just the type of person Cormac is, man. He's such a fun-loving guy. He has that type of mentality where he wants everyone to succeed. And just seeing that energy that he brings off the bench, even when he's not playing, is something that a lot of people take for granted because, sometimes guys find it, maybe you want them to do worse because it might make you look better or set you up for a better position. But I think our team does a great job of encouraging each other every single play, and not just games, but in practice. And I think that really brings us together and makes us tight-knit in very difficult situations when it comes into games. And, I think we got some great guys, not just him, Robbie Carmody, Prentice Hub, Jawan Durham, Nicola Jogo. They're all types of people that are going to vocalize how they feel and almost be kind of like little fans, but also teammates, which is something that I think is really important for a team's chemistry.
Mm-hmm. So now on to the speed round, kind of like the Jack Nolan or Mike Bray radio show. I know you're very familiar with that. But
that was my show for about a year.
Co-host. Which clutch play would you say means the most to you at Notre Dame?
Everyone expects me to say the SFA tip just because of, the magnitude of the game. But I think that my favorite play is tied for two. It's number one is the rebound kick out to Nate Laszewski for the game-winning 3 against North Carolina, just because I had the opportunity. I just remember the play so vividly as it was happening, and it almost seemed like it was meant to happen, everything just like that. And, I don't really need all the spotlight on me. All I want to do is win games, and, if people can make big shots and they're the better ones to do it, I'm all about that. So that was, and plus it was Big Monday against North Carolina. No matter what our rankings were, it's still one of the more special games. And then the other one has to be my first game I really got playing time my freshman year against Duke at Duke. I remember I was out there, shot clock was running down, I had the ball. I was honestly just trying to get the ball to because it wasn't my time to score because being a freshman in that situation, but be able to hit that clutch 3 with 2 minutes left, to kind of put us up, I think, by 4 or 5, to kind of give us some breathing room going into that last stretch. That's one of the feelings that, it's kind of, even though it wasn't, build up into anything, but for me, it was one of my more proud moments to be able to know and tell myself that I stepped up, and when my number was called, I was able to answer.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely interesting that you didn't pick Stephen F. Austin. That's kind of what I would say.
I hear that all the time, so sometimes maybe it gets played out, but that one definitely is going to be one of the most special one, in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Saying the Stephen F. Austin, I mean, that's one of my favorite Notre Dame games ever. Like that kind of moment, it's always awesome when sports are like that.
Mm-hmm. So, which sports and teams do you like outside of Notre Dame? I know you were a big Kobe fan.
Yeah, man, Kobe's my guy since I was little. And, so the Lakers will always be my favorite team. But the one that always surprises people is that I'm actually a Patriots fan. And I know everyone always has the same reaction. And I have a good reasoning behind it. Ever since I was young, I started playing tackle football for the SOC, Southern Orange County Patriots. So right there and then I kind of had a team that I could kind of get behind, especially where I'm from. We didn't have a team. There was San Diego, about an hour and a half south, and then there was no LA teams when I was younger growing up. And I just wanted to root for a California person, which was Tom Brady. And Tom Brady really became my football idol and basically my favorite athlete of all time, just because I saw the way that he handled himself, especially being doubted by everybody, the way that he was able to hold himself during the biggest moments in the world, in sporting moments, and to be able to always come out clutch. And just that idea that you don't always have to be the most, physically gifted, but if you're able to prepare yourself, be ready for those moments, and then, actually execute during them, it really shows something about the character of a human being, and not that it's just straight athletic skill. And so now seeing him go into the Bucks, it's definitely tough, but I've built such a strong association with the Patriots that I'll always be a lifelong Patriots fan. But, this year I might have to root for the Bucks when they play against us.
Are you going with
Wow.
What was that?
Cam or Stidham is the starter?
For Cam or him?
Yeah.
Honestly, coming forward, it's going to be interesting. We don't have that inside the locker room look because if Stidham's been in that system and he understands how Belichick works, he understands how the play calling works, and he knows how to adapt. He's going to have to show it in preseason. But then when you bring in Cam Newton, who has just all the physical attributes that any athlete in any sport would want, and he also has the resume of playing in a Super Bowl and being an MVP. I know he was dealing with some of those injuries that kind of, people started to put their head down on him. But I think giving this opportunity and putting him in this, the Patriots organization where he can really develop and grow back into the player he was, I think he can become another dominant force like he once was.
Well, one thing I kind of thought was like, if he waited so long to sign Cam, I mean, that must show like some faith he has in Stidham. But when you bring Cam Newton as well, I mean, with his resume, it's just a win-win situation.
Exactly. So they have two options right now. I think moving forward, it's honestly going to just see if there's going to be an NFL season, which I think there will be. but it's going to be fun just, having that kind of hype behind Cam Newton. And it's going to be a lot of pressure, but knowing the type of person and seeing his attitude, all across social media, I feel like he's really working to prepare himself mentally to take on this role and excel in it.
So you said you played football growing up. Were there any other sports besides football and basketball you played?
Yeah, I primarily played football and basketball. Those were my sports. I played volleyball here and there, and I love it. I still play sand volleyball a good amount, mostly for the cardio, but also just to be on the beach. But, football and basketball going into high school is a difficult decision to choose which one to go in, just because in the kind of high schools that I'm from, I think we're becoming more and more so like that as a culture in high school, that you got to kind of, pick one, which is definitely sucks, especially because I think there's so much to gain from playing on multiple sports, not just, having the opportunity to go out and, earn a scholarship to schools, but I think the camaraderie that comes along with it, it's different in different sports. You get different life skills from playing those sports, and it just kind of brings in different edges. And man, do I miss football? Yes, I do. But, basketball has also been such a great, vehicle for me to do what I want in my life, give me the opportunities that I want. So I don't have any regrets, but it would also be interesting to see if I still played football.
What position did you play?
I played quarterback going up into 7th, 8th grade and defensive end. But then finally, we had some pretty good players come on, and then we started switching, and then I started to realize if I wanted to keep playing football, I would definitely be more so of a wide receiver, just given my athletic ability and my route running abilities. I felt like I could, I'm good friends with Chase Claypool, and, I'm not as big as him, but I like to say that my style of receiving would be similar to his.
So this one, you have the opportunity to tie the score from this. It's 2-1. But who would you say you think the best basketball player is, LeBron or Jordan?
Well, I'm going to go off the record and say Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant, in my eyes, will always be the greatest, given, circumstance, his ability, and just straight perseverance as a human being to just fight through so many different things that a lot of people just wouldn't be able to do, from, off the court action to, people just straight up hating on him just because of the way that he's playing, but he always produced results. He always fueled his team to be better, and it's difficult to play for a person like that. He emulates Jordan in so many ways, and I thought he did a lot of things or made a lot of improvements that Jordan kind of laid out for him, given the way that the game has changed. But if I'm answering the question from Jordan or LeBron, I would say LeBron is the better basketball player all around, but I would say Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time.
So what was the most impressed you've ever been by a opposing player? It could be in college, could be in high school, wherever.
I would say just when we played against Jason Tatum, especially in that ACC championship game my sophomore year, for him to have the composure as a freshman to come in there and, kind of take over the game at the end and, basically dictate how the outcome came. It just showed his mental stability and toughness, even at such a young age, that he's almost been groomed and given all the athletic abilities and just skill that he's worked hard for to become a Hall of Famer. Just seeing that he has all the tangibles, that he basically has no ceiling, that he can keep progressing and keep becoming one of the best players ever. So I know he's young, but just seeing the way that he holds himself, not just as a basketball player, it's really impressive. So I would have to say he's probably the best that I've played against.
So what do you think you'll miss the most about Notre Dame when the season starts or right now?
It's obviously going to miss the campus, going to miss the people, miss the coaching staff, and especially my teammates. The thing about us is that we weren't just teammates, we were brothers, we were best friends. Everybody hung out with everyone. There's no divisiveness within the team. Everybody wanted to see everybody, and I think that's what makes our team so special, is that there aren't groups, there's no segments, there's just one team and one family. And I'm going to miss that camaraderie, but, when you leave the team, that's one of our mantras, is that, teammates, they might come and go, but brothers stay forever. And so I know we all keep in contact, always talking. I still reach out to the older guys here and there, ask for wisdom, check in on them, and I hope the younger guys do the same for me.
So what was your favorite game this season? You talked about the UNC game. You played really well in that. You played well in Clemson. Which one would you say was your favorite?
I got to say my favorite game of the year has to be freaking the Toledo game.
Mm-hmm.
Early in the season, it's one of those games where everyone thought it was for sure a win, but we knew they were a team that had a lot of confidence early in the season. They were shooting the ball. They were scoring over 90 every game in their first, I think, 5 or 6 games. And so it was a real first challenge of the year. And I think we were down, around like 8 or 10 points with 3 minutes left. And for our team to just keep battling and not give up in any situation, and just to put ourselves in that position and give ourselves an opportunity to win that game, I thought it was just very, very special. And plus just how we finally just pulled it out at the very end and then showed that we were the better team in the end. I just gave us a lot of confidence moving into the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. So this one was from Jake. Which player do you think was the most like you at Notre Dame during your career?
Most like me that I played with, or in general?
That you played with.
Yeah.
I would say it would have to be Robbie Carmody. I think he has the same tenacity that I did, the same kind of positive idea when it comes to the game, where he's always uplifting. He works his ass off every single time he gets on the court. And sometimes a little too hard, where he needs to kind of relax, where he puts himself in some dangerous positions. But I think with the age and experience and the understanding that you don't always need to go 150 miles per hour, once he learns how to slow down his game, I think he's going to develop into a really great player for us, because he can play both sides of the court and he just never gives up.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah. You said you go on the beach and stuff. You told me before. What do you think something people don't know about you is?
I'm a pretty open book. I try to, even on my social media, I try to, show all sides of the type of person I am. But I think a lot of people would be fascinated to know that I write poetry. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great way that I'm able to express my feelings into words, and really put it out there in a way that is very contextualized, so you can understand where I'm coming from my perspective. And so when I'm writing my poetry, I feel that I'm kind of opening up my soul a little bit to people.
So this is my last one for the speed round. I think Jake has one or two. But which people at Notre Dame do you still talk to the most?
I'm always got one of my good friends, Nicola Jogo. He's in a similar situation as me right now, going through the 1-year MBA program. I tell him every single time we talk, hey, if you ever need anything, a little help here and there when it comes to whether it's, how do you balance basketball and schoolwork, and how do you attack whether you should, leverage one thing or not. I'm always trying to be that person of wisdom, especially going through it so recently, that I can be there for him and kind of help him mentor a little bit through the whole process. But, I talked to him, John Mooney. I was living with TJ Gibbs out in Vegas for 6 weeks training about a month ago. So TJ and I will always be connected too. That's my brother, and I really consider all of them brothers, and I hope they're willing to reach out if they ever have any questions about anything, because I always love to give my feedback on whatever I can.
Jake, you can go ahead with yours.
Was it mine?
Yeah.
What player in the NBA do you think you're the most like as a player?
I know it's interesting to think about that question, but honestly, it seems pretty, I don't want to say basic, but honestly, Alex Caruso, and even a little bit Pat Connaughton, where I can be able to fill a role on a team where I can go in there and I can just be a great team player that's not going to do anything bad, where I'm going to be able to do exactly what the coach and the team wants, and I'm going to do what I do best, and that's help my team win.
That all you got, Jake?
What? Yeah, that was it. That was the question I had.
All right, so that's all we got for today. Thank you, Rex, for coming on. We really appreciate it. But that's
Cool.
going to
Appreciate you guys.
You're welcome back anytime.
Appreciate it. Once you guys get big time, I'll come back on.
Yes, sir. So thank you guys for watching. Go Irish. Peace.
Peace.